Hey everyone, welcome on into this demo. My name's Tim Stromble. I'll be guiding you guys through this demo along with some guys inside the warehouse this afternoon for the Blackbird Rolling Center, brought to you by RollPros and presented by GreenBroz. What we want to do is start you guys off with an intro video that you may or may not have seen. So let's go ahead and launch that, and then we're going to get into the process of this demo as people still start to join us. Okay, perfect. Again, thank you all for joining us. Now, as we go through this machine, we're going to be covering kind of the gamut, really, of what this machine can do. We're going to take you through all the steps of what this machine does, how it operates. I am going to go ahead and throw it in just a second to the main video of the machine. Now, we've got this machine running kind of in the background, but what we're going to do, excuse me, in just a second is kind of walk you through what's happening, how it's happening, why it's happening. I wish I could say hello to everybody individually because there's so many people on. We're super psyched to have you here. This is the Blackbird Rolling Center by RollPro. Again, okay, so the Q&A is where you're going to put your questions in. What we're going to do is go through about like a 15-minute, 20-minute demo and kind of overview of this machine. And then I'm going to get to the Q&As and we're going to dominate these Q&As, okay? So while you're seeing all the muted signs on the panelists is right now, Tim Stromble, that's the only unmuted person right now. I'm talking. We're also going to be joined by Kyle, who is the founder of RollPro, who is the creator of this machine, and the engineer behind the technology, who can answer all your technical spec questions. We're also going to be joined by Lisa, who is our Northeast Territory Manager and up in Canada as well. Many of you know her because that's why you're here. And so she'll be unmuted answering questions. Between the three of us, we're hoping to be able to cover pretty much everything that you're going to want to know. Okay, so since we have you, we do have some housekeeping things we want to get to. Just so you know, big thanks to Marco and Jack. They are our two on-site employees. Marco's our marketing director here at GreenBroz, and Jack is one of our sales managers that handles the Nevada territory. They're basically running, hey Marco, they're running and making this happen at our warehouse facility today in Las Vegas. So super exciting stuff. That they're able to pull this off. We have people from basically all over the US making this happen today. Let's see, quick reminder, if any of you are looking at either a Model M or a sorter, we do have a crazy sale happening between now and the end of the year. Both machines at $15,500, which is the lowest price we've offered on either of those machines. And then our Alchemist 215 is also on sale as well. Last thing to talk about is just that we will have a Q&A right after everything. So again, put your questions down in the Q&A box. We will have this recorded. So once this is done, we are going to just filter it through our video process to get it ready. And then if you want this for any of your coworkers, higher ups, decision makers, if that's not you, we can send them this video. Just hit up your sales manager for that. If you don't know who your sales manager is, you can reply to the invitation email you got. That'll go to my inbox and we can get that information to you. We also have the cut sheet that we can provide as well. Okay, so without any further ado, we're going to go ahead and start with the demo of the machine. Okay, so you're looking at, let me kind of just guide you through a really pretty simple 8-step process of what we're going to cover. This is the Blackbird Rolling Center by RollPros, which in our opinion at GreenBroz is soon to be the new industry standard for pre-roll production. This machine is capable of producing 750 pre-rolls per hour is the baseline that we're talking about here. We'll talk more about the features of the machine as we go, and anything of certainly we don't touch on down in that Q&A, and hopefully you've checked out the FAQ in advance. Just to let you all know who's watching as well, we're running this with like a dryer hemp product that we sourced out in Nevada, just because we've been running a lot of this machine. And for us, not being growers ourselves, hemp is a little bit easier for us to source so that we cannot have to pay tons and tons of money to run this machine for you. So when these pre-rolls are coming out, you might see a little bit of shake coming out of the pre-rolls. That's just because of the dryness of the hemp product. You wouldn't experience that with cannabis. Just so you know, cannabis is sticky, it tends to stick together. So you won't have to really deal with that. Let's see, I'm just making sure I'm getting all of my housekeeping done before we throw it to the demo. Yes, so we've got Lisa in the background. Lisa, did you want to introduce yourself and say hi real quick, just before we get going?
Sure, hang on. Hi everyone, thanks for coming. I'm here in New Jersey.
I know, I was impressed. You've got such a great attendance here, so we're really excited for all your people to have joined and be ready to go. So let's see. And then Kyle, I'm just going to throw it to you real quick. I'm going to ask you to start your video and just say hi to everybody and introduce yourself as the, obviously the founder of this machine and the creator. And you've got one behind you, so I'm going to spotlight your video. You're on there. But yeah, go ahead and introduce yourself. Say hi, man.
Hi, yeah, my name's Kyle Laux. I've been working diligently on perfecting this technology over the past 4 years. I'm out in the great Pacific Northwest, so sounds like the opposite side of the nation for a lot of you. But yeah, I'm really excited to start sharing this with the world, and I'm excited to see your guys' reactions.
And as we get ready to throw it over to our machine, Mark, I'll let you control that in-house. Just to speak on the partnership, GreenBroz is uber excited to be partnered with Kyle and RollPros. Their company shares the ethos that we do, that the quality of the product is first and foremost above all. And, there's gonna be a press release coming out soon that talks more about that relationship. But we're just giddy. I mean, they're a made in America company that takes pride in their stuff. And again, quality and innovation is key. There's nothing like this technology on the market. Okay, so let me guide you through this machine as you're seeing it happen. Here's how the process works, okay? First thing that happens is your flour is in-fed through the hopper. Now this hopper has about a 2-pound capacity at one time, so you could load up to 2 pounds. It takes the machine about an hour to process through that 2 pounds. You'll notice that the machine is left open, or the hopper, excuse me, is left open. So there is opportunity for constant feeding and no downtime, and you wouldn't have to refill it. So the second part that happens in this process is the flour is brought down through the hopper and into that lower tray area. Marco, I'll let you guide there. So that's where it goes next. You'll see that little agitator. That's basically just sifting the trim into a flat line. It's directed down the chute and along that little feeding tray, and that will take it to the weighment scale where it is weighed. The flour is fed onto the precision scale. Now this precision scale boasts a tolerance of 0.01 grams, so 1/100th of a tolerance. You can see that live readout on the outside of the machine as it goes. Currently, this machine is set for 0.5 gram pre-rolls, so 0.5 gram pre-rolls. So this scale is actually weighing out to 1 gram. I'll tell you why in just a second, because it'll be divided into half. We'll get to that. Now, once your flour meets the weight range, it's dropped and then rolled through RollPros patent pending tru-roll technology. Now, a huge differentiator between this machine and what's on the market right now is the radial compaction that takes place. Now, a lot of things on the market right now, you pack it from the top. And just so I can give you guys an idea of what that looks like, I'm just gonna spotlight my video for a second. So pretty much everything on the market right now is packed from the top. RollPro actually rolls it like you would a rolled pre-roll, like a joint. like everyone's used to. So it's radial compaction. And what's really cool about that is you're getting a uniform density impact throughout the roll. It's a crazy cool technology. It leads to a uniform burn throughout the entire smoke of the pre-roll. Margo, if we can go towards the outshoot of the machine. Now this machine does put out 2 pre-rolls at once. And what's really unique about this is it rolls one long pre-roll, and that long pre-roll will be about 1 gram in weight, and it'll have a crutch on both sides. And then as it gets to this last point, it's actually cut in half down the middle, and then it exits the machine. So you're gonna see that cut right down the middle. So I wanna throw it to Kyle as he kind of describes that process a little bit. Kyle, can you speak a little bit more to that? I'll spotlight you here. And I know you have one ready to show.
Yeah, that's the whole reason why this machine exists, is to kind of conquer the physics issue that I think everybody's having with trying to pack these cones, and the inconsistency issues. Even if you automate it, you're still going to have inconsistency down the length of a cone if you're filling it from the top. So my technology rolls. This is like I call it the double doob. It's a silly name, but so you've got a filter on each end. This one I was goofing around. It's got a cellulose cigarette filter, and then I've also got my normal crutch on this side. And so you roll this, and then you cut it right down the middle. And it gives it a really nice look. I mean, your branding guys are going to go nuts over like just how clean that edge looks, because it's nice and it's cut. So I'm really excited about this development.
Yeah, Kyle, I know you have some in-house, right? Do you want to go to yours and grab one of those nice pre-cuts to show us what you mean by that tip?
Sure. Yeah. So this is how they come off the machine, and you can just see that it's just a nice cut edge, and that blade that I have on there is it can be sourced anywhere. You can get it at the local hardware store. You usually have to replace it like once every 2 shifts, so every 16 hours or so. But I think it's totally worth it just for getting that really nice crisp edge to it.
Awesome. And so what we're doing right now, guys, is we're going back to that wide shot so we can kind of talk a little bit more about what's happening with the machine as it's going. Kyle, certainly let me know if we want to weigh in a little bit more. So as this machine is working, I mean, a number of things are happening. Crutches are being fed in along the top. Mark, I don't know if you can get me a shot of the crutch in feed. Yes, you can. So let me just go to that spotlight. So these are where the crutches get in-fed. So this is another open hopper that you can basically in-feed your crutches, and they're fed through these tubes as the machine operates. And that's an automated process as well. You can see it kind of working around. And so the hopper's open, this is open. So those are 2 things that can be operated, continuously to keep this machine just pouring, to where if you're running a single strain, you should have little downtime throughout that. Let's see, spotlight back to the main machine. There we go, very little downtime. So yeah, the razor blade splits along the pre-roll down the middle. Let's see, the crutch, in this case, we're using an 18 millimeter crutch to produce a 70 millimeter pre-roll. That's 140 divided by half, so 70 millimeters long, perfectly cut down the middle. Very clean look. Let's see here. So I think that's kind of the overview of just the basic operation of the machine. So what I want to do now, if that's okay, and I'll wait for Lisa and Kyle to kind of nod, but can we just go into Q&As? I mean, that's kind of that's a nice high level of the machine. They both seem into it. So Lisa, you've got control of your mic. Kyle, I've got your mic on, so we can throw it to the 3 of us as we go, and we'll just let the machine run in the background. What specs of rolling paper is required? So I know that Kyle, we can kind of go into that a little bit. But the machine can hold up to 3,035 2,500, 3,000, 3,500 meter bobbin, correct? And then do you want to give us the other dimensions on that?
Yeah, it's a 36 millimeter wide rolling paper, and you can go. I've gone down pretty low on the GSM for as light. You can get a really light paper into it, but yeah, it's a gummed 36 millimeter bobbin, and I think the maximum that you can fit in the machine right now is like 3,000 meters. So,
and I believe, guys, if we're talking about consumables, that's definitely in the FAQ, so you can reference that. But Kyle and RollPros are going to be providing an unbleached, which is a brown, and a bleached, which is a white rolling paper option for you that they've already gone through the effort of sourcing. So you could easily roll it, get that through them. And then also the crutches Kyle has is brown. And you can source those through him too. So if you don't want any sort of headache and you just want to jump in there, RollPros can provide those to you. He can also work with you to help make sure that if you want to privately source, that what you're sourcing is correct for the machine. Correct, Kyle?
Yeah, exactly.
Perfect. Okay, so hope that helps. If not, re-enter a question in the bottom and we'll get to that. Let's see. Sorry if I missed this. What is the mill size you use for this material? It looks fairly large mill size. So this is in the FAQ as well, but the ideal grind size for this machine is 1/8 of an inch. That's what we're recommending. Now, that being said, okay, let me go into this explanation. So the grind size ideally is 1/8 of an inch. The machine doesn't care what the grind is. It'll still operate it. The reason why you want to go with 1/8 of an inch is because what Kyle has found is 1/8 of an inch, 1/9 of an inch, 1/10 of an inch, kind of in that range, will produce your best weight results and roll results in terms of accuracy, tolerance, and getting that pre-roll nice and tight. So that's kind of where you want to be, so that all your numbers are really just cranking. But the machine will work with other sizes. It might just take your technician a little bit more time to dial in so that you're cranking as fast as possible. Does that sound pretty good, Lisa, Kyle? Do you have anything else to add to that?
Yeah, plus minus, yeah.
Plus minus, Kyle?
Yeah, I mean, it's like you said, it's designed to take anything. It's not constrained by getting it through a small hole, which is why most of the cone packers have a restricted grind size. So this machine is, if you want to go big and fluffy and do a nice tight roll, that's another thing. You can change the tension of your pre-roll. So like as it's running, if you want to try a tighter one, or if it feels like it's a little loose, you can up the tension. So yeah, it puts you in control of kind of those specs to make the quality of product you want.
I think that's a great point, kind of as we go through this for everyone to hear, is there's a lot of controllables that you can kind of have your stamp on as a company. And that's one of the reasons Kyle kind of built the machine this way, so it would be a little bit more flexible for whatever you want to do. Richard asked, you said the scale is accurate plus or minus 0.01. Video said 0.02. It's in that range for sure. Kyle, I know it's one of those things where it's like, the video might not have been as up to date as the technology, but do you want to clarify that?
Yeah, that was just, I need to get my video editor to update that. It's also, that's a tough number to throw out there, because I don't want you to think that that's not the precision of the end product. That is, the precision of the end product is plus or minus 0.05 grams. And because, the scale is crazy accurate, it's just, the problem is feeding, just a little bit of cannabis onto that scale at just the right rate, in order to get your precision on the output. So yeah, it's one of those numbers that I don't even like to throw out there too much, because I don't want people to disassociate what it actually means.
Yeah, I think that makes a ton of sense. Fal asked, and I hope I'm saying that right, when you cut it in center, does the flour fill become loose and start falling off? Now, if you look at this this demo that we have going on in the warehouse right now, we're using really dry hemp. So it's not sticking together like sticky cannabis would. And so the reason why you're seeing some of that come out is if your product is really dry, it's just like a pre-roll, and ultimately it has to be able to stick to itself. So if you have sticky product, if you have any sort of quality cannabis, that pre-roll is going to be nice and tight, and it's going to stick because of how it's compacted is really tight. So you can adjust that tolerance, get a nice tight pack, cut it down the center, and then you won't see that. We didn't want to necessarily source really expensive sticky cannabis for all the testing that we've been doing in-house and for this. So that answers the question. Kyle, do you have anything out on that, or is that good?
Yeah, I mean, out here in the Great Northwest, I've got some pretty, low-grade industrial hemp that I test with also. But I find that if your grind size is right, and it can still be pretty dry, it'll hold. If it's a powder, and it doesn't matter how tight you roll a powder, something's gonna come out the tip. So that's definitely something that you just need to consider when you're rolling a product.
Okay, cleaning. What's the recommended cleaning schedule for this unit? Now we have some options here, and I am going to throw it to Kyle so that you can visually point to anything that you want. But basically, as we go, the machine's really easy to open and close. Kyle, if you want to open the door just to show how easy it is to get access to.
Right.
And there's very few touch points of the flour. Basically, the hopper, the in-feed trays, the Teflon, and then the part coming out, all of which can be accessed by easily opening the machine. You can wipe down all touch points with isopropyl alcohol and blow it down with a little bit of compressed air. All super easy to do either between runs or at the end of the day, or if you want to do an hourly cleaning schedule, it's whatever is best for your facility. It can easily be opened from both sides. Pretty much the only part on this machine you do want to give care to is the scale itself. So just when you're cleaning it, it takes a little, you just want to make sure you're not pounding the scale and messing that up. Anything else, Scott?
No, I think, yeah, you hit on it. I typically, I use this one to process CBD joints, and I just hit it with a little bit of compressed air, probably every like 3 to 4 hours. And that it doesn't have a whole lot of high friction points or any like heat sources, which is generally where you get like that resin buildup. So yeah, I did that on purpose, because the resin is really once that starts clogging, it gets really nasty and it's really hard to get off, as you all know. And so as long as you keep it, under low friction, low heat, it usually stays just pretty dry and dusty. So you can just spray it down with a little bit of compressed air. But yeah, if you want to get in deeper, everything that you need to clean, like if you want to do an isopropyl wipe down, it all comes off. There's a couple of thumb screws on a few parts and it all comes out. So
awesome. Lisa, did you have anything to add to that? That seemed pretty nice and thorough, right?
No, I mean, yeah, I just think it's important to point out that for in between strains, it's only like 10 or 15 minutes because you're really only going to want to wipe down those touch points, as you mentioned.
Sure.
And deeper cleaning, for our Canadian folks who, cleaning is a big deal, Health Canada, 40 to 45 minutes, but it really depends on how deep you want to go with it. But it's easy and accessible, so that's it.
Awesome. Let me see. So we have a ton of questions. We got 34 coming in. So I know a couple of these answers really quick. First, from Scott, how much control? From Luis, excuse me. Luis asks, this is a 0.5 gram, 70 millimeter stick. Can it do other sizes? Now, this machine is capable of producing 0.45 gram to 0.70, if I'm not mistaken. Or is it 0.75, Kyle?
Yeah, it's dependent on the density of your weed, but yeah, it can accomplish a range. Yep.
So within that range, for sure, it can accomplish. Now, this is the first RollPro machine that's hitting the market. There is talks for a 0.35 version of this machine as well that will be specific to a 0.35 size. But the way that this machine rolls, it is a different interior, a slightly different interior technology, and then like a different firmware for that technology. So they will be different machines, but certainly, you know, talk to your sales manager about the availability. Lisa knows a lot about that. What is the weight tolerance in flour in each specific roll? Asked by Eric. Can it hit 5%? Can it go 0.48 gram to 0.52? Kyle, I know that it's plus or minus 0.05. Now, what's actually being inserted into the pre-roll is coming off that scale, right? Which is plus or minus 0.01. But once you dump it onto that paper, that's when it's like, okay, well, if I cut it in half, you might see slight variance between the two, right? Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah, and I'm saying the output is each individual pre-roll is going to be within a range of plus or minus 0.05 grams. I'm hesitant to say anything about percentages just because a percentage is based on your weight. And so like a lot of guys can roll like a 1 gram joint, have plus or minus, you know, 0.2 grams and still have like a better percentage than what mine would say. But plus or minus 0.05, that is the range at which your output joint should be at. And you can set that.
Perfect. I missed what you said needed to be replaced every 2 hours. Not replaced, the 2 pounds that goes into the hopper to start the machine. If you were to just put 2 pounds into the top of the hopper, the machine would take about 2 hours to go through that and then be done. But you can constantly feed it, so nothing needs to be replaced. You can have your one operator constantly adding if you want, so that the machine doesn't stop. The electrical requirements, asked Eddie, is 110 volts, 15 amps. Guys, we did just finish the cut sheet that has all these specs, specifically the air requirements, the power, pre-roll length, the crutch length, all that stuff. And we can send that out to you. So feel free to contact your sales manager and she'll get that sent out. That should be hitting her inbox earlier today, or she has it by now. Let's see. How often does the belt that physically does the rolling need to get replaced? That's a good answer, or a good question. Kyle, I'll let you talk about that if you want to. Go ahead.
Yeah, so another key piece of technology that I was trying to deliver with this machine was to try to keep everything that's touching the marijuana to like 1 or 2 components. And so the belt is one of those components, and it will wear out. It's taken me like about 20,000 joints to fully wear out a belt. But so that'll probably be like once every 2 weeks you'll replace the belt. That said, you can wipe it down in between strains and potentially, you know, extend the life of the belt. I'm also investigating other materials that could last longer. But they're not crazy expensive either. It's just a piece of fabric that I'm laser cutting. So and that'll be available for purchase.
Serge asks, what is the minimum pre-roll weight this machine can roll? Now we're talking about a roll that is, as it goes through the machine, it's weighed to 1. So we're putting out 0.5 gram pre-rolls. So that means the roll inside the machine is 1 gram, and then it's getting cut in half. So these pre-rolls you're seeing right here are all 0.5 gram in size, because he was putting on some math there, asking if, you know, it's a 0.5 gram divided by 2, so 0.25. No, it's a full gram divided by 2, which is 0.5. That's for this specific setting. So how is the paper held in place on the black flexible material? That's a cool engineering question. I'm sure Kyle would be excited to answer. You don't have to give away your secret sauce, buddy, but if you want to kind of allude to it, you can. Patents are pending.
Yeah, it's so I went to Hogwarts and it's vacuum. I just got like a couple of vacuum generators. And yeah, it holds it down.
What is the optimal moisture level for products going through the machine, Kyle? Do you have kind of a range for that? I know up in Washington, you tend to have a nice moist flour.
Yeah, that's all going to be dependent on, what kind of product you want out. Like, do you want to reinstate it, or I guess in essence, it can take anything. I think you can probably get on the higher side, like too wet of material. Like you want to make sure that it's properly cured and dried. But I haven't had any issues with any different, and I've been trying to get the stickiest stuff I can find, like, right off the farm. And so, and then also the driest stuff I can find too. So try to get all the end cases.
Makes total sense, Kyle. What's the estimated downtime when doing a changeover on the bobbin paper? Now, it's important to note that if you have a 2,500 meter bobbin, you're looking at, maybe 30,000 pre-rolls from that. So, that's going to be a minute. But Kyle, what's the changeover time look like on that? It's a simple process, easy to access. You could even show where the axis is down below the machine.
Here, time me. So this is the bobbin. You would, you take it off. I got, it's on a little holder, spool. So it just is a friction fit, slides on there. You put it in the little hooks. And then I've got this little roller. So you just got to feed it up over the roller. Make sure it's kind of feeding straight, or straight as you can to start. And then you you just cut it flat, and now you're ready to go.
And I just want to note that my phone, my computer said 11:38 when you started that, and it hasn't changed to 11:39 yet. So that was definitely under a minute. Now, this is an interesting question. I think a lot of people will want to know. It's about the rejection of the machine. I'm going to read it in full, and then I'm going to kind of guide the answer, because I know Lisa might want to talk on it for Canada, and then Kyle might want to talk on it for what the machine is kind of set up to do. So is there a reject station if something does come under or overweight? What is the exit way process? This is assuming that cutting it down the middle equals half the weight. We did mention that is an assumption, but at the same time, you might have some variance from roll to roll based on, what's more here, slightly. Now in Canada, we have requirements for the weight of each pre-roll. So we can't assume that cutting it in half adheres to the weight requirements. Let's see. So Lisa, do you want to talk about the Canadian side first, and then we'll go into the machine, or what do you want us to talk about the machine first?
Yeah, because I'm not exactly sure what that requirement is, to be honest with you. What he just
Okay, so we might have to find out more information there. But Kyle, you can easily open the machine again and kind of show us. Right now, it's not an automated process, but the reason why we haven't really talked about rejection rate is it's such a negligible number, but at the same time, it's a really quick solution. I mean, Kyle, you can kind of show how someone would do it.
Yeah, so and this will probably happen when you're setting it up and you're trying to tune in your vibe feeds, the feed at which you're filling the cannabis onto the scale. And so one of the good things is I have an alert that will tell you, okay, you put too much flour onto the scale, and that'll do a little pop up, and you can set that range. So if you're in Canada and you want to make sure that the amount of flour that's dropping into your two joints needs to be within plus or minus 0.03 or 0.04 or 0.02, like you can set that range just on the touch screen. And what happens is the user, it'll alert the user like, hey, there was an overfill, and you likely will just have to open one of the doors, and you just would put like a little catch tray. I've got these little ones that I'll send out with the machine, and then you just hit, dump the scale, and that'll dump the scale, and then you just close the door and hit start, and that should resume the cycle just like that. So
that's a solid answer. And then we talked about this at length, guys, just so you know. That process done by an operator, we've timed it, is 10 to 15 seconds of opening it, dumping it, hitting the button, you're back moving. And in all testing so far, we're looking at a reject rate, 1 to 2%. So maybe over 700 or 750 in an hour, you're seeing, 10 or less rejects. So it's a pretty negligible rate, and it's really fast to fix. It is a manual process as of now, and TBD if there's going to be an add-on adjustment to the machine to make it automated. That's interesting. Marco, I like that cut. Hold on just a second. He's showing the tip of one of the pre-rolls so you can kind of see how tight that is. That's a cool little shot.
Yeah.
All right. I like it. Marco's just trying to find some fun ways to show it. Kyle, how often does the scale need to be calibrated?
It's all up to how close you want to be. I haven't had the need to do it. I do a tear before I do any fills. So like my offset is kind of negligible. And I haven't seen any drift really in my scaling.
I don't know where it went, but someone asked, can we brand the paper? Can we brand the crutch? And we've been talking about that a lot. Now, the crutch branding is possible. Kyle is working, RollPros is working with a team that would have a direct partnership with RollPro to brand the crutch. So that's something that can happen. You can get your crutches either from Kyle directly. RollPros provides the exact kind of crutch you would need for the machine. You could work with him to source a different crutch. What types of filters? So now, Gino, I see you asking this in the chat. I want this in the Q&A. I'm only answering it because we're talking about it and it popped up down below. So I think that talks about rolling papers TBD. I've actually heard a lot of people wouldn't want a branded rolling paper because smokers wouldn't want to inhale, even if it's food quality or smoke quality. I think there's old school people that think, I don't want to smoke ink and that kind of a thing. So I don't know. Right now, the rolling paper is not something that we have ready, but the crutches are a possibility. Kyle, what type of filter are you using? And then will it work with cellulose acetate, which I think you had on that. You had one side that had the cellulose and the other side had your normal filter, right?
Yeah. And I've been doing some testing here with any filter size. It's really the geometry of your filter. And I have been able to get the little white, the cellulose ones to work. And then there's also like the brown ones, which is like a unbleached cellulose or something like that. I've gotten some of those to work. The ones that I recommend and seem to be popular in the States are these, just like, it's not a filter. It's just keeps the flour from getting to your mouth. But yeah, these are the ones that I can supply, and I'm working with a couple of different, big paper filter houses that are going to be able to do branding and such on the crutches.
Oh, could you talk about the crutch in the feed? Can the hopper be overfilled? Will standing ones jam the machine? And then if there is a jam, how easy is that jam to kind of just knock out?
So the standing ones shouldn't jam. There's a little ramp at the top that, so there's like a little gate it'll knock the ones that are standing, it'll knock them back into the bowl. So they shouldn't jam it. I have experienced crutch jams up at that point. And it's very low rate. And typically you can notice it by these are transparent tubes. So you can see, the user, if he's watching it, he can see like, oh, I'm not feeding crutches you know, either I need to fill it with more crutches or I've got, you know, one stuck up there. Like I said, it's pretty low occurrence rate. But yeah, that's why I added the visual tube so you can check just, you know, instantly. And if it runs out of joints or crutches or filters, there's a little sensor right here. It's about 3/4 of the way down. And then that'll throw like a real pop-up that'll say, hey, you know, fill up your crutches. And then there's another sensor at the very bottom of it. So if you do run fully out, it'll actually stop and be like, hey, come on, put some crutches in.
Let's see. So here is a question that's not necessarily machine spec related. Lisa, this might be more up your wheelhouse. What is the current lead time for a single unit? Do you want to say what's the price and what about install? Do you want to take those?
Sure. So the price is $225,000. Lead time right now is about 8 to 9 weeks, but I imagine after this demo, it's going to be increasing. And we can't really say, you know, exactly what that'll be until we know what's coming in. So what was your last question, Tim?
About install. I know that Kyle, oh, you can go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, we are going to be offering, our Canadian partners right now we can't allow, you know, they don't allow us in. So we would work remotely to get the install going and the training. But here in the US, we'll be able to send a technician out to you, and there'll be a cost for that. But, you know, we can do that. We'll be doing that.
And then with service, Kyle and his team at RollPros will be on demand through phone service. GreenBroz is going to have a dedicated engineer on staff in-house for service questions as well. So those will be definitely things we can do. You'd either be able to hit up GreenBroz directly, or you could hit up RollPro. You know, we'll talk about that. Let's see here. Does the price include SOPs, like standard operating procedures? I think all paperwork would come with the machine once they're out. Yeah, I'm getting nods from everybody. Anything?
Yeah, and I think we're also going to have like videos too, Tim. You know, it's important for everybody to know that we're here for you. You know, anything you need between GreenBroz and RollPros.
And then I think it's important to answer Joe's question. There's two questions. Kyle, I'll let you talk about, is this unit UL listed? And then JC asks, is it possible to export the weight of each joint produced to a database? As of now, there is no export a weight to a database. So you would take, you know, your little countertop scale if you wanted to cross-check weights after it comes out of the machine. I can allude to the fact that that is in Kyle's, it's ticking around up in Kyle's mind. So, and I'm imagining, Kyle, if you did add that functionality, it would just be a add-on that you could easily, you know, slip under the machine or something that would be, you know, you can add on later. But do you want to talk about the UL or anything I just said?
Yeah, the UL listing, that's definitely on my radar. I wanted to kind of I wanted to get it to the point, which is like where it is now. And I've been following UL as close as possible. In a previous life, I've distributed and produced products that were all UL listed. So I kind of know, you know, what it takes. And so that's definitely on the list. That'll probably be on the next, I don't know, probably by like mid next year, they'll be UL listed. And yeah, the output weight. I have a way of tracking the scale weight, and you'll see on the display, there's a little like running weight. So like I save like the past 5 weights. And so you can see kind of like what the scale is weighing out to. And yeah, it's definitely on my list. I think that a really nice complementary add-on would just be, you know, something that kind of goes right where the output tray is, that, you know, just like can grab them, give a quick check weight, and then, you know, either dump them into a bin or packaging would be really nice too. That's kind of that's on my radar.
And that's something that I think makes a lot of sense. They'd be, add-ons to the machine. Lisa, go ahead. You had something?
Yeah, to add on to that, somebody just asked Justin, does the user need to calibrate prior to each run, speaking of the scale? So that's a question.
Yeah, so we did hit on that a couple minutes ago. Some of these questions, that was from about 20 minutes ago, but that's fine. I was going to address that. So good call. Does it need to be calibrated before each run? And then is there ways to cross-check it? So you're cross-checking it as you go. We didn't mention it, but typically it only takes 10 to 15 pre-rolls to kind of dial in that process to where you can start pumping it out, Kyle, right? Like that's typically how you your first couple, you kind of check them, and then you make a couple of tolerance changes on the machine or whatever you're doing, and then bam, you're just kind of operating it like that.
Yeah, it's really just kind of adjusting the feeds and speeds of your two vibe trays. And even with that, it's negligible. I mean, you can run one strain to the next and your vibe feeds and speeds are going to be really close. So it's kind of like once you get it dialed in for the first time and you got your feeds all right, yeah, it's just like maybe a 10 pre-rolls or so. And yeah, that's how you get it tuned in. No real like recalibration is necessary in between strains.
Kyle, are the contact points with the flower removable or swappable? I know you mentioned that the entire machine, which is a good thing to talk about, but the entire machine is kind of built in little segments, so that if you did have a service failure or something happened, Kyle could basically send you out a single replacement unit. I mean, you want to talk about that a little bit, Kyle?
Yeah, from an engineering perspective, I'm really big on sub-assemblies. I think it helps manufacturing, it helps servicing, it helps cleaning, diagnosing, like all these things. So it's pretty well broken into some rather small sub-assemblies, which are all removable with, a 2.5 millimeter hex. So like this is your like pick and paper system, lives right here. This is a dispenser system. The platen is a little bit harder to take out, but it can come out too. And then these two vibe trays and the hopper, they all come out relatively effortlessly. And the scale too, like this part of the scale comes off, and I just caution to be careful with the scale because it's a really light load cell. But
okay. Richard followed up and he meant are they swappable? Are the touch points swappable between runs? Like, could he buy extra contact points to be able to wash one set while keeping the machine in action? And like you said, and I'll let you go into it, Kyle, there's a number of touch points that you basically have to replace to be able to do that. So that seems like it would be slower than just like a simple blowout and wipe down, right?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to buy extras, then I'm not going to say no. And I mean, that is, if you're really trying to like get your downtime to like, very minimal, then yeah, you could do that. That's totally within the capabilities of the machine. Yeah, and like the belts, I'd say I'll ship an extra belt with every machine. So, if you do have problems with one, you can quickly swap another one back in. That process takes about 5 minutes to swap in a new main belt.
Lisa, did you have anything?
Yeah, I just wanted Pat asked a question regarding panels. Are there safety interlocks or options for safety interlocks?
Yes, and yes. That's like the first rule of, UL listing and everything. And it's, yeah, they're all interlocked, and there are a couple of points where, I'll probably disable the interlock where, so like for instance, if you have an overfill error, I will disable the interlock so you can open it. The machine will be on, but it won't be moving. So, you know, there's some, you know, there's some trade-offs there. And I've also got, you know, big red e-stop button, right? That's pretty standard. So something starts, you know, if you get, I don't know, yeah, something happens and a bird flies into it.
Kyle, I know we touched on this, but what are the dimensions, length, and diameter of the pre-rolls that are produced? This one is 70 millimeter pre-rolls. What's that diameter? It's 7.5 millimeters. What is it? It's kind of fluctuating, right?
Yeah, it's like around 7 millimeters.
And the reason why, just to explain to Eddie, the reason why that it's around 7 millimeters is you can adjust the tightness of the roll. So you might be slightly tighter or slightly looser depending on the pack of the product, because you're controlling the weight that's going in. And so your density might be slightly variable. Your tolerance might be slightly varied, so that you can control that weight. So the weight comes out the same that you want. Is that kind of an accurate explanation, Kyle?
Yeah, that's accurate.
Okay, cool, guys. We're just about to wrap up. We're just about at an hour. I did forget to mention, let's ask Todd's question first. Todd asked, is the unit, I'm guessing he's saying server motor controlled, or is it a PLC? I'm guessing that makes sense to Kyle, because I don't know what that means.
Yeah, that's, you know, a bit deeper into the technology thing. But yeah, I've got stepper motors that have encoders, and also redundant position flags. So yeah, to make sure it gets to the current, the desired position.
And then Eddie wants to clarify, am I correct to assume the machine automatically adjusts the tightness of the pre-roll given the inputted intended weight? It's not a manual adjustment for the diameter. I'll let Kyle speak to that, but that's what the first 5 to 10 pre-rolls kind of are, is you're kind of figuring out what that tightness is, and then you would control the tightness to achieve the correct pre-roll pack that you want, right? That's what your operator would control.
Yeah, I could see in the later models, having a closed loop feedback on that. But right now I'm putting that in the operator's hands. So they have a pre-roll that comes out, and you look at it, and you feel it, and you're like, okay, this feels like the product that we want to offer. That's, I don't have a great feedback loop. There is, an over tightening error. So like if it over tightens, and I recognize that through the stepper and through the feedback. So if I miss steps, I alert the user, and but I don't back off on the tension for the user. I kind of I let them do that.
Awesome. Well, guys, I mean, we've made it through all the questions. I should have hit off on this right out of the gate. Kyle, by the way, if you've never met Kyle, which I'm assuming that you haven't, he's got a number of patents. He's brought and engineered machines that have been brought to market before. And so Kyle, next time we have you on, man, I'm going to go through your background just a little bit, because people might not know you're not just some dude off the street. You know what you're doing, and you've done all this kind of stuff before, and you've brought engineered products to market at some really big companies that we don't have to name drop. But exciting stuff. Kyle, Lisa, anything else that you guys want to kind of touch on before we get out of here, or are we feeling good? We're just at that hour mark.
I'm feeling good.
Yeah, I feel great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, great stuff, everybody.
One quick thing, obviously, if anybody has any questions, they can reach out to their sales managers. So,
Yeah, which I'm assuming 90% of the people here are going to reach out to you, Lisa, because you got so many people here and ready to go. But that is going to do it. So some quick housekeeping things, guys. Again, we're running a promotion for the rest of the year on the Model M and the sorter. $15,500 for both those machines, which is well off of MAP and MSRP. As I go through this, Marco, can I cut to you and show you guys? Hey. I don't run, Colin. There goes Colin, GreenBroz CEO.
Hey,
There's
guys.
Jack and Marco who made this possible in-house. There's our in-house warehouse facility. The Las Vegas Raiders mask. You might be turning people off. But there's the in-house operators for us. Thank you guys so much. Don't forget that last minute sale for 2020. These are crazy cool prices, $15,500 for both those machines before the 2020 price increase happens. 2021 price increase happens. So not only is it the lowest those machines have ever been, but once 2021 happens, they're going to go up. So you're going to want those as you, oh, look at those pre-rolls. Nice, Marco. But yes, so hit up Lisa and let us know if you have any questions, or your dedicated sales manager. If you don't have their contact information, simply reply to the webinar invitation that we sent you. We will have this video recorded and available if you need it for someone else in your company to take a look at before we get out, or before you make that decision to buy. Otherwise, get in line. Get in line quick, get in line fast, so you're not, hitting us up in a couple of months and waiting behind a bunch of other people who acted. So Kyle, Lisa, thank you so much. This has been wonderful. Lisa, I'll let you do a little wave off. Kyle, I'll continue, let you do a little wave off. And we are going to call it a day. Thank you guys, everyone. Thank you so much.